13-year-olds do you know that could publish their own diary and sell tens of millions of copies worldwide? How many 13-year-olds do you know that could keep their sanity and stay positive for 2 years without being able to step out in the sunlight because you're in hiding in order to save your own life? I know of one 13-year-old, and her name is Anne Frank. Anne Frank's diary is now known worldwide, and it's a testament of how harsh life was for Jews in World War II. Her diary is now translated in over 60 languages, and it sold over 10 million copies all across the world. My purpose is to show you that Anne Frank's diary is the most influential writing in history. I've done extensive research about Anne Frank and her famous diary. My information comes from many sources. Some are Time Magazine, Biography.com, and Time International. Today, I will discuss a few reasons why Anne Frank's diary is the most influential writing in history. One is through her personal accounts. The second is optimism throughout her 2 years that she was in hiding. And her last is because of her revision process of her diary. Let's examine the first reason as to why her diary is so inspiring. Anne Frank was given her red-covered diary on her 13th birthday, June 12, 1942. This same year, her family went into hiding in Amsterdam in order to escape the Nazis. Anne kept the diary from the ages of 13 to 15. Her entries ended when her family was found and arrested on August 4, 1944. Her entries were made out to Kitty. Kitty was her imaginary friend that she told all of her thoughts to. Anne told all in her journal. She did not hold back her thoughts or her feelings. Her entries discussed her family life, the political aspects of her world around her, and how harsh life was. Otto, which is Anne's father, read her diary, and before he had it published, he ripped out 5 pages in her diary so no one would see what Anne had written in order to protect her family's privacy. The 5 pages are now published for the world to see, and this shows how big of an impact that her diary truly had. Now that we've talked about her personal aspects, let's talk about her optimism throughout her diary. Throughout Anne's whole diary, she wrote about how the Jews, especially her family, continued to try and have a normal life. She managed to stay positive even though her and her family did not see sunlight for 2 years. Here are some quotes from her diary that are inspiring and shows how optimistic she truly was during those awful 2 years. The first one says, "In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. I simply can't build up my hopes on a foundation consisting of confusion, misery, and death." The next one says, "Think of all the beauty still left around you and be happy." The last one says, "If we bear all this suffering, and if there are still Jews left when it's over, then the Jews, instead of being doomed, will be held up." Now that we've discussed Anne's personal accounts and her optimism throughout the 2 years, let's talk about her revision process. During the year of 1944, Anne heard a radio announcement from a government official, and he stated, "I encourage all of those who wrote letters, journals, and diaries to keep them because they were historical records that could be published after the war as a testament." Anne took this very seriously and started her revision process immediately. Anne made it more organized and structured, and so if one day it was published, it would be ready for the world to see. Anne now has 2 diaries. The first one is Diary A, which is her original and informal diary. The second one is Diary B, which is her updated one. Diary B has over 320 handwritten pages of personal testament of her family's time in hiding. Now that we've explored the topic, let's recap the main points. Anne Frank's diary was a personal testament of her 2 years in hiding with her family. It portrayed her optimism in a time of harsh situations and unfair treatments of the Jews. It showed her ambition and motivation during her revision process of the diary. Anne Frank says in her diary, "But, and that's the big question, will I ever be able to write something great? Will I ever become a journalist or a writer?" It is safe to say that her question was answered. Even though she did not live to see it, Anne Frank did become a writer and shared her inspiring words to the world.